Blessings and namaste, beautiful ones. I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Sette. I thank you once again for allowing me this opportunity to share with you my astrological and spiritual insights for the month of October 2020. Without a doubt, this has been an extraordinary, unprecedented year, and the energies of October will be potentially elevated to epic proportions. That being said, certainly it is not to instill fear. Remember, all planetary experiences, activity, all which we are presented are opportunities to know our greatness and our innate power of creative divinity. Let us not allow ourselves to be consumed by any fear. Remember, fear interferes of all which we are being shown. I've emphasized many times we are experiencing times of revelations and the apocalypse, and certainly those elements do not infer destructions. Revelations implies to reveal. So does the word apocalypse. We are being shown the atrocities which have been taking place for millions and millions of years, if not longer. And as we go through the October time frame, the awakening that we keep hearing about is very much going to be present for us, specifically with the alignments of Mercury, Uranus, as well as the energies of the full moons. Now, we begin October with a full moon on October 1st. We actually have two full moons in October. The first being, as I said, October 1st. The second being the blue moon, full moon on October 31st, Halloween here in the United States. In other parts of the world, it will not be until November 1st. And in the United States, for us, it will be on October 31st, the second full moon. Now, our first full moon on October 1st, it's in the sign of Aries. Aries begins the zodiac. Aries is a sign of the entrepreneur, the philanthropist. This full moon is inspiring us to recognize what is it, where in our lives do we need to follow through with whatever we set in motion. The challenge of Aries is to follow through, and this full moon, it's offering us an opportunity to reflect on what is it that we began and we may not have necessarily completed or finished. Have yourself the courage to recognize that. Many times that connects with a deserving factor or lack thereof, whether or not we choose to accomplish all that we set out to achieve. Let yourself reflect and allow this full moon to shine the light on whatever aspect, whatever project, plans, whatever that might be in your lives personally, where you may not have followed through. Remember, the full moon on October 1st in the sign of Aries, it's about following through with whatever we set in motion, complete any project, plans, whatever that might be for you, and allow yourself, once that's fully completed, allow yourself to recognize that element of accomplishment within yourself. Certainly that is a very fulfilling experience, and this is why we are offered this opportunity to follow through with whatever it is that we began and may not have necessarily completed. That element of accomplishment certainly brings great fulfillment and joy. Whenever we've accomplished all that we have created, we certainly revel in our creation, and it allows us to recognize that we are very much creative beings. Aries is a fire sign, so we certainly are moving through the colder months. Allow yourselves to be fueled by that fire of creativity. Fire and air are creative signs. The sun right now, it's in the sign of Libra. Aries is, the moon at this full moon on October 1st is in the sign of Aries, which is fire. Fire and air work very well together. Remember, fire needs the air to burn. That combustive experience is very creative. And certainly, with the sign Aries, we begin fueling the creative embers and Spirit offers us the opportunity to recognize the creative divinity within every one of us. Now, on October 4th, our friend Pluto will move direct. Pluto has been retrograde since April 25th. Remember, retrograde phases are times to reflect. Those are the opportunities presented to us during all retrograde phases, especially with a Mercury retrograde. It's a time to reflect. Now, Pluto is also representative of the underworld. It also represents our innate power and ability to manifest great things. So during the retrograde, it's almost like there's been an intense, massive battery recharge that has been taking place. We've been offered the opportunity to really reflect on our own unique ability to manifest, to bring to form, to create great things. Pluto creates on an evolutionary scale, and every one of us has the opportunity to connect with that ability, with whatever might resonate with us on a personal level. I also learned a very, very long time ago from my mentor friend, Astrologer, that when Pluto moves direct, because Pluto represents the underworld and the shadow forces, we many times we hear of the plots and plans taking place of the underworld, not to create fear, to create awareness. Pluto also represents the darkness, the dark side of life, the dark side of spirituality. Pluto is very transformative. Remember, whenever we allow ourselves to shine the light, wherever there may exist darkness, we transform that darkness into light. Anyone who has experienced an intense Pluto transit knows very well the transformative element power that is connected to Pluto. The metamorphosis experience of Pluto is very much equated to a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Look how dramatic is that transformation, and every one of us many times will have the ability to transform so dramatically in our lives. Also, those transformative experiences offer us the opportunity to know our power. Certainly, whenever we inspire all of us to know our power, it is always to be approached from a place of love and humility, and never ego, greed, or entitlement. When we know our power, we empower ourselves, and we recognize that nothing in the outside world has any power or influence over us, and that we are the master of our destiny. This Pluto retrograde was an intense period for us to embrace, recognize from a place of love that we are the master of our destiny. And when embracing that understanding, we are very much accountable and responsible for all that we set in motion through intentions, energetically, through thought, word, and deed. That's the creative process: thought, word, and deed. On October 13th, we have our next Mercury retrograde phase. Now remember, as I always emphasize, Mercury retrograde is an opportunity, just as all planetary phenomena, alignments are experiences, opportunities for us to connect with something greater. Mercury retrograde is an opportunity for us to be reflective. We inspire to recognize during a Mercury retrograde all the RE words. We reflect, rejuvenate, reconnect. Also too, Mercury retrograde, it's a time to finish whatever we may have started, as I emphasized a little bit earlier about following through with certain things that we may not have necessarily allowed ourselves to complete. During the Mercury retrograde, we reconnect with loved ones, friends, associates that we have disconnected with quite often over the course of many, many years. And sometimes we find during a Mercury retrograde that acquaintances are are almost instantaneously, miraculously reconnected with us during a Mercury retrograde. Sometimes when we have an experience like that, when we reconnect with someone from our past, it may not always necessarily indicate that we are to continue a relationship with that individual, as much that we are offered an opportunity to revisit something that we may have forgotten about, perhaps something that also needs to be completed, which that experience may have brought to light for us as well. Again, all of these experiences are very, very personal, so I suggest to just allow yourself to really observe for yourself what you are experiencing during the Mercury retrograde, and have the courage to really receive all the blessings which Spirit desires for us. Remember, the Mercury retrograde is also an opportunity to receive and allow the blessings to be returned to you, specifically all that which you would desire and endeavor towards achieving. Remember, in order for us to receive whatever it is that we would desire to experience, you've got to shift the gears a little bit. Just as there are times when we need to be a transmitter to send out the energy, we need to shift gears and be that receptor, be that element which receives the energy that we have set in motion. Otherwise, if we're always sending out, we're never getting anything back. So the Mercury retrograde, again, it's a time to receive and reap the rewards of all that we have set in motion. I said that October 13th, Mercury moves retrograde. Mercury will remain retrograde until November 3rd. That is the day which it changes direction and is direct in its orbit. I also suggest to recognize that not until Mercury moves past the point at which it moved retrograde are we not fully out of the influences of the retrograde, and that point is on November 19th. So keep these dates as a point of reference. Also on September 13th, we have the Balsamic moon phase. Remember, the Balsamic moon phase is about 3 or 4 days leading up to the new moon. That is the opportunity to adequately, properly prepare for the lunar cycle, to clear away the slate so that at the new moon we begin again with a fresh slate. Now our next new moon is on October 16th. Now I mentioned earlier about Mercury and Uranus and how intense these energies can be at this time. Now with the Mercury retrograde, as well as with the new moon on October 16th, Uranus, who is referred to as the higher octave, higher vibration, higher frequency of Mercury, are forming opposition alignments to one another. And opposition is when two elements are diametrically opposed to one another, just as the moon and the sun are opposed on a full moon. That opposition, it's a full moon energy. Uranus is the planet, the element which connects with the New Age. It connects with revolutions. It connects with revelations and the apocalypse. It's also representative of awakenings, great awakenings. As we progress through the month of October, the awakenings and the awarenesses that will be presented to every one of us, especially about what's really been going on in the world for many, many, many years, will be unprecedented. And we need to allow ourselves to embrace these higher knowings, always from a place of love. Remember, the end result of all of this is the opportunity for every one of us to experience love, joy, freedom, which we really haven't been able to fully properly enjoy. Abundance, not only financially, but in all things of our lives, which abundance, as I've said many times, abundance is our birthright, and every one of us has the ability to really connect with abundance in all things, as well as perfect health, joy, and many, 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 many blessings. So I suggest to recognize, or rather I suggest to, if there is any fear, from really recognizing higher truths, allow yourself to move past that fear and dissolve the fear, especially on the during the balsamic moon phase. I may have failed to mention that Mercury will be moving retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, as I was referring earlier. Pluto represents the dark side, the shadow side. During the Mercury retrograde, more so than any other retrograde, Mercury retrograde, any other phase, this is our opportunity to fully release any fears which may have interfered with us really receiving any blessings or from seeing higher truths. Whenever I inspire us to recognize a higher truth, I always suggest allow Spirit to guide you and discern all information from a place of love, and to not have a preconceived notion as to what those higher truths may be. The Scorpio element also connects with the element of surrender. The moment that we surrender and allow ourselves to be guided, Spirit will bring us blessings greater than we may possibly imagine. During this Mercury retrograde and on this new moon, allow yourself the courage to surrender to a higher power. And remember, when I suggest for us to embrace the constituent of surrendering, it does not infer that we give up our control. In fact, this just reinforces that we are very co-creative. We are working with Spirit so that we may enjoy the blessings not only on a personal level, but for the all of humanity. As I've suggested quite often during these most unprecedented times, to allow yourself to set the intention in motion for whatever it is to come, that it is to be the highest good of all. Allow yourself really to encode that intention of the highest good of all concerned, especially at this new moon. As I said, the alignments between Uranus and Mercury, especially starting in September and moving through December, are unprecedented and extraordinary regarding shifts of consciousness, shifts towards higher levels of thinking, higher knowing, dissolving thought, dissolving fear-based thoughts, which may have kept us in a compromised state of well-being. These are also extraordinary times, especially the October time frame, to receive higher truths, higher knowing. And in order to do that, we need to move past fear, fully move past fear. Again, another element of the Mercury retrograde, to move past fear. Recognize where fear may be keeping you in a compromised state of knowing, especially about yourself, your greatest potential, as well as our actual origins, regarding our actual human origins. Also, the misinformation that has been prevalent throughout humanity for many, many years is also being dissolved, and we are being shown quite clearly where there is misinformation and how the misinformation was designed to keep every one of us in a compromised state of our knowing, of our greatest potential. So many blessings are coming through these extraordinary times. It's also the opportunity to really know your greatest potential. That's why we look at all of this, so that we can really recognize what can we offer humanity and where do our greatest desires lie. Remember, I've spoken many times about passions and our passion, our purpose, and it all connects with serving a greater purpose for the all of humanity. As I said, and quite often I digress, our new moon in October is on October 16th at 3:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The new moon is in the sign of Libra. Libra, as I've said, I believe in the last video, connects with, or rather represents our connection with nature, the natural world. It represents balance. It's the sign that governs artists, musicians, as well as creativity. And this new moon, also with its alignments to Pluto and Saturn. Pluto, as I said earlier, it's the one which represents the elements that we are the masters of our destiny. When we recognize that we are creative beings, that we are connected to divinity, and when we allow ourselves to demonstrate that creativity, that will also show us how we are very much the masters of our destiny. We also have to allow ourselves, or rather, I suggest that we allow ourselves to be acutely aware of what external forces may attempt at inflicting their power and control over us personally as well as collectively. Remember, whenever we are offered an opportunity to know our power, again, from a place of love, something inadvertently will present itself in the outer world which may seem as though it is trying to control and manipulate us, to derail us from recognizing our power. And I've always said, when we are offered the opportunity to know our power, it does not infer that we are to be in a place of entitlement, that we are to be unlawful. It doesn't mean that we don't pay our taxes and that we don't render to Caesar what is Caesar's. It's that we allow ourselves to really engage in all of those experiences and know that none of that has any power over us. On October 22nd, the sun moves into the sign of Scorpio. October 22nd at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. As I said earlier, Scorpio, when the sun goes into the sign of Scorpio, because Scorpio connects with the other side, if you will, the spirit realm. Forgive me. It connects with the spirit realm. It's an opportunity to connect with those who have transcended into the spiritual realm. That's really what Halloween is all about, honoring the loved ones who have transitioned into the realm of spirit, and also recognizing that their connections with us are very present. And even though they are no longer in physical form, our loved ones are still very much connected to us etherically and are always there to love us, to guide us, and to inspire us in ways, when we are clear, greater than we can possibly imagine. And speaking of Halloween, on October 31st, we have our second full moon, and the exact time of that is 10:50 a.m. Now, what is also extraordinary about this full moon, and as I mentioned earlier, about the element of Uranus, the full moon is within 4 degrees of an exact connection to Uranus. In a mundane chart such as a full moon, the moon element represents we the people, the people. So this alignment with Uranus suggests that there is a monumental awakening coming to the all of humanity at the end of October and also moving into December, which is actually preparing us for our next eclipse season at the end of November and December. And I'll touch upon that in my next video, and maybe I'll dedicate some time to creating some videos specifically towards the eclipses as I did last time. And as I said, I strongly and emphatically suggest, especially those of us who are highly sensitive to energy, Be diligent in your spiritual self-care. Move past, have the courage to move past any fear which will prevent great clarity coming to you. As I said, that Uranus element brings higher levels of awareness, great clarity, paradigm shifts in thinking that lead us towards higher consciousness. All of this is about a great awakening which is taking place, which is preparing us to fully enjoy the new age. And certainly this is something to be very excited about. I always suggest that if there is any fear that's still in place, transmute that fear and change it to excitement. There was someone who once said, see fear observe the fear element as a tailwind and allow it to propel you forward, as opposed to a headwind which pushes you back. We are certainly experiencing unprecedented, extraordinary times, and every one of us is offered an opportunity to receive many blessings. Allow yourself to continually fortify the image in your mind of whatever it is for you on a personal level that would be your ideal existence. As I said a few months ago, with the eclipse of June 21st, that was really an opportunity for all of us to really create and begin to plant the seeds of enjoying our ideal existence, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, with whatever that might be for you. And by the end of this year, with the alignments which will be taking place on December 21st with the winter solstice, certainly we may see those seeds very much coming to form for every one of us. We are all offered opportunities to enjoy greatness and to really experience a human encounter filled with many blessings of love, joy, abundance, perfect health. So I inspire you all to really allow yourself to be guided by spirit. Keep yourselves very peaceful. Work on yourselves energetically. Clear yourself of all discordant energy. The more that you allow yourself to be very dedicated to self-clearing, not only physically, etherically, as well as in your home, we will all be properly guided from the higher realms, which have the intention of love for everyone. So once again, I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Sette. I thank you for this opportunity, this very brief opportunity for me to share with you my spiritual and astrological insights for the month of October 2020. I will be returning to the mystical moons in November. I believe my first day of sessions is November 16th. Lori has my schedule. You can reach out to the centers and schedule time with me directly through them. I look forward, as I always do, to enjoying time on a personal level with everyone, and to continue inspiring you on your journey to know your blessings. To know your greatness. Many blessings. Namaste, and I will see you all very soon.